Welcome to my presentation on reimagining higher education. Can corporate partnerships make a difference? As your host for this presentation, we will look at utilizing partnerships with corporations and industries to help higher education navigate the fast-paced changes for the future. Higher education is in a challenging position today with the many changes in technology and with the increasing demand for career-ready students who have the skills needed by businesses and industries. The pressures are significant against higher education institutions, ranging from technology changes in the past decades to decreasing enrollment and financial challenges. While many schools are having to close due to these struggles, others are looking for answers to improve and meet the demands of today. In this presentation, we will begin focusing on only one possibility for institutions to utilize for moving forward into the future with success. As I just mentioned, there are a lot of problems facing higher education institutions today, and the literature is blunt about stating that higher education systems in America are not doing well. Jeffrey Selingo, former editor at the Chronicle of Higher Education, believes that American higher education is broken and it needs to be fixed. In his book, College Unbound, he discusses the issues that have led up to his belief that our system is broken, from outdated ways of teaching, not being able to keep up with the rapid technology changes, to the recession of 2008 and the ever-rising cost of education. According to Demestre, the current model of our traditional undergraduate programs is unsustainable. Change is now a requirement, not an option. The higher educational financial woes are some of the most distressing challenges facing institutions today. The recession of 2008 caused the amount of state funding for higher ed to significantly drop, which in turn led to a shift of the financial burden of attending institutions of higher education to students and their families. This was troublesome for all, especially since the recession also led to a decrease in the median household income. The overall cost of attending institutions has skyrocketed and has been increasing faster than the cost of living. With students and families struggling to find ways to finance education, many potential students chose not to attend college, which has caused a drop in overall enrollment. As a result, institutions needing to attract more students to increase their enrollments are giving out more and more financial aid than ever. Students are being offered merit-based aid as well as need-based aid in order to attract them to attend these institutions. To make things even more difficult, the cost of running these institutions have been consistently increasing as well, at rates higher than the inflation rate. This leads once again to increased tuition costs. While many institutions are struggling to find ways to cut budgets and increase revenue, many have not succeeded and having to end up closing. Those in the middle of the struggle are still being innovative, though, to find ways to stay afloat. They are the institutions that are changing the way that higher education has been working for centuries. What are the ways that schools are doing to try and fix the dilemma that they're in financially? Many are working on ways to deliver education and its benefits for lower costs, such as moving to online classes and utilizing adjunct faculty. While this may lead to less spending, it will not necessarily lead to increased revenue. There are only so many ways to decrease spending. So the real answer is how to increase revenue so institutions can continue to offer high quality education and increase their student admissions. There are not any simple answers for this. Yet if institutions can find funding for research, technology improvements, scholarships for students, these will help to answer the revenue issues. And a way to do that is through corporate partnerships. Corporate partnerships have been happening more and more in today's tough economic society. Nonprofit entities, including higher educational institutions, are teaming up with corporations and businesses to help with funds for educational needs, scholarships for students, access to resources, and to meet overall needs of the community. Several questions are asked. Why should institutions of higher education partner with businesses? What does a corporation partnership have to offer higher educational institutions? And what does a partnership look like in the world of education? The rest of this presentation will focus on answering these questions. Additionally, we will look at what changes will need to be happening in higher educational institutions for this kind of innovation to work best. To answer the first question, why should institutions of higher education partner with business? We need to look at what students and schools are needing for the future. According to Salingo, students want to be ready for their jobs when they graduate. They want training and practical skills for the workplace. They also want to be able to try and fail and not be penalized while they're doing so in school. What we want for our graduates is to have them find jobs that suit their talents and skills and satisfy them. Corporations and businesses want to hire graduates that meet their needs. Sounds like a perfect plan. Train our students so they can land jobs that fill their needs and meet the needs of the businesses within the communities around us. A match made in heaven, right? Partnering with community corporations or businesses is just plain smart business for everyone. What is also important is to consider the way that these businesses and corporations can assist institutions to keep up with the changes in technology and with the creation of custom degrees for graduate level students, as well as participate on our advisory boards and provide us with the needed insight on industry changes and focus for the future. According to Workforce Magazine, business owners are finding that there is a shortage of skills in their workers. Additionally, business skills in an area where at least 1/3 of employers are having to retrain graduates once they enter into the workforce. Workforce also found that graduates are not finding or are working in jobs that match their training or educational level. In the recovery period after the economic recession of 2008, recent college graduates were found to be the most unemployed or underemployed group of workers, especially in the undergraduate level. For those who did find employment, roughly 30% of these graduates with a bachelor's degree were working in jobs and positions that were geared for those with only a high school diploma or an associate's degree. Through corporate partnerships, higher educational institutions can know what's needed for their graduates who are seeking jobs that meet their educational level. Corporations and businesses can then have workers who are skill set prepared once hired. Answering the second question, what does a corporate partnership have to offer higher educational institutions? Well, we have already started to answer that question. According to Kenneth Luckton of the Harvard Business Review, he states, increasingly, companies recognize that if they are to attract the best and brightest talent, they must create purpose-driven organizations aligned with values like meaningful work and social utility. Similarly, universities must see their role extending beyond teaching and pure research to take on social challenges and contributing to economic growth. Instead of diverging over whether the highest priority should be profit or knowledge for the sake of knowledge, companies and universities can come together around shared notions of the common good. He concludes with, both industry and academia stand to benefit from long-term cooperation. Companies will gain greater access to cutting-edge research and scientific talent at a time when corporate budgets are increasingly under pressure. Universities will gain access to financial support and partners in research at a time when government funding is shrinking. Most importantly, society will benefit from a stream of previously unimaginable advances in life sciences, biomedical engineering, communications, environmental sciences, artificial intelligence, and more that will vastly improve everyone's life. To sum it all up, partnerships offer benefits for students, universities, the corporate sector, and society. As the skills needed for students to be career ready are constantly changing, universities and corporations are increasingly seeking out new partnerships to better prepare students for the 21st century economy. The forms that these partnerships can take vary and be as comprehensive as total outsourcing of an administrative function or a close collaboration on curriculum development. By working more closely with the corporate sector, higher ed institutions will continue to develop a deeper understanding of market needs, create more compatible course offerings, and better prepare graduates for success. So the final question we asked was, what does a corporate or business partnership look like in the world of education? Partnerships between corporations and higher education institutions have been around for many years. Over time, the relationships with the corporations that employ many graduates of higher education has evolved. Many higher education institutions employ offices that are meant to connect with industry, and just as many corporations have executives whose job is to bridge connections with higher education. The goal is to forge a link that will fill the needs on both sides. There are many examples of partnerships that currently exist. Let's take a look at some that are currently in place. The University of Maryland partnered with aerospace and defense technology company Northrop Grumman Corporation, who funded a cybersecurity program for them. They designed the curriculum and provided computers and the cost for a new dorm that was dedicated to that specific program. Ohio State University partnered with IBM to help train their students in big data analytics. This is an area of high demand today. IBM partners with many higher education institutions worldwide to help them with the development of these curriculums. Drexel University partnered with the financial services firm Vanguard Group to launch a custom MBA program. This corporation also has a program that interacts with business students in their very first year to help them understand what it takes to be successful in business today. University of Michigan, Ann Arbor, and University of California, Berkeley are just a few of the schools who partnered with the Ford Motor Company. Institutions that partner with Ford receive scholarships and help with research and product development. Additionally, the institutions provide education for Ford employees. This is a great example of each partner receiving benefits from this particular partnership. Arizona State University and Starbucks Corporation also formed a partnership. As noted in their announcement, Starbucks is offering its workers the opportunity to earn an online degree at Arizona State University at a steeply discounted rate. This partnership gives certain Starbucks employees the chance to earn an undergraduate degree. ASU's connection with the Seattle-based coffee giant helps Starbucks from a recruiting and a benefits perspective. And it also helps the university fulfill one of its missions as a public institution. These are just a few examples of corporate partnerships between higher education institutions and corporations. There are many more that we cannot meet in today's presentation. There are many benefits in forming partnerships for universities and industry alike. For universities, these partnerships can provide financial support for their educational, research, and service missions, broaden the experience of their students and faculty, identify significant, interesting, and relevant problems, enhance regional economic development, and increase employment opportunities for students. For industry and businesses, such partnerships can provide access to expertise that they do not have in-house. They can aid in the renewal and expansion of their technology, put them in contact with students as potential employees, expand pre-competitive research, and leverage internal research capabilities. Of course, there's always going to be some things that are considered negative with these kind of partnerships. While not every partnership will have negative consequences, it is possible for there to be conflict of interest surrounding money or commitment of time. Additionally, these partnerships can be perceived by the public as selling out to business, which could lead to a loss of trust with the public. Some researchers might feel the loss of freedom with the exchange of academic information and knowledge. Most important is to make certain that these areas are discussed when entering into partnership to avoid surprises later on. So, you might be asking, why is this so important now? What makes this something important enough to consider changing within the higher educational institutions? Well, that's a good question. There are several reasons, so let's talk about a few of them. With the ongoing struggle of decreasing enrollment for many colleges and universities, we need to be thinking of ways to better teach and prepare our students. We also need to find ways to increase revenue to keep the cost of attending colleges down. Partnerships with corporations can assist with both. Skills are important. The U.S. Labor Department is expecting that by the end of the year, we will be facing a shortfall of more than 2 million skilled workers in our economy. Corporations are already feeling the pinch. For these openings, they are no longer looking for white-collar or blue-collar workers, but instead are looking for the new collar workers, individuals who develop the technical and soft skills needed to work in technology jobs through non-traditional educational paths. These workers do not have a four-year degree from college. Instead, they are trained through community colleges, vocational schools, software boot camps, technical certification programs, high school technical education, and on-the-job apprentices and internships. There are more and more prestigious companies that are also no longer requiring college degrees for work. Companies such as Apple, IBM, Starbucks, Hilton, and Google. Higher educational institutions need to look at what kind of skills are needed by these companies, and they need to find ways to provide them. But what about a degree? With the shift of major corporations not requiring them for jobs, this could make traditional undergraduate education for a bachelor's degree obsolete if more and more companies move in this direction. Skills versus degrees. What is going to win in the future? Writing for Inside Higher Education, Ray Schroeder writes us, it's not skills at the exclusion of degrees, but increasingly, evidence of attainment of the stated skills will be mandatory. Also, increasingly the degree will become optional. Our business in higher education will be to fulfill those basic soft skills by certifying the core skills of creative thinking, critical thinking, communication, and leadership. At the same time, we must be ahead of the curve on teaching technological implementation, emerging practices and technologies, and cultivating in our students flexibility in the application of knowledge to the new environments. To the extent that we succeed in these areas, we will keep the degree relevant to both employers and prospective students alike. He continues by asking these important questions for those of us who work in higher education. Are you prepared for these changes? Will you lead the charge at your university to confront the emerging new realities of our role in the broader learning environment? So why now? Well, let's take a look at what Amazon is up to. Amazon is going to be spending $700 million over the next 6 years to retain 100,000 of its employees for jobs within the company and beyond. They are taking action themselves because they have a feeling of an acute need that, frankly, they feel is not being met by the existing educational system. The decision to expand its own post-secondary training and credential programs, largely outside of traditional higher education, should be a wake-up call for all colleges and universities. Amazon's decision to go outside higher ed should be deeply threatening to community colleges and continuing education divisions of research universities that are eager to expand their employer partnerships on training and credential programs. There are many challenges to overcome institutions of higher education in order to make the needed changes for effective partnership with corporations and businesses. The mission of academia and business are very different. This clash can make it challenging for finding middle ground to work together. Leadership issues are another source of challenges. The shared governance of higher education is slow-moving and cannot keep pace with the rapid changes in business. It is essential that institutions find a way to be nimble in decision-making for the future. There's a clash of the cultures of most higher educational institutions. Are institutions willing to be open to non-traditional education of the virtual culture instead of a tangible culture where buildings and locations are constant? Can they handle the hierarchy of the managerial culture that is dominant in business? So, what does our future hold? That is the question. Which way we are willing to move in the future will depend on those who are in leadership today. If we can move past our history and make changes that are relevant and able to handle the future, we will be successful. But today, we are at a standhold, and we will see what the future holds for us. Thank you for your attention.